The Mafia, or the American Cosa Nostra, stands as one of the most infamous organized crime syndicates in history, leaving an indelible mark on America's social, political, and criminal landscape. Its origins are deeply rooted in the cultural traditions of Sicilian immigrants who arrived in the United States during the late 19th and early 20th centuries. These immigrants, fleeing poverty and political instability in Italy, carried with them a legacy of secret societies that had existed for centuries in their homeland. These organizations, such as the Sicilian Mafia, originally emerged as a form of community protection in a lawless society, but they quickly devolved into criminal enterprises. In the United States, this same model was adopted and adapted to suit the unique opportunities and challenges of a rapidly industrializing nation. What began as small, loosely organized groups preying on their own immigrant communities soon grew into a nationwide criminal empire with vast influence over legitimate industries, unions, and even government institutions. The late 19th century was marked by the emergence of the Black Hand, an early form of organized crime in Italian-American neighborhoods characterized by extortion schemes. Small-time criminals would send letters threatening violence unless their demands for money were met. This period established the Mafia's reputation for coercion and brutality, but it was during Prohibition in the 1920s that the organization truly flourished. The federal ban on alcohol created an enormous demand for illegal liquor, and the Mafia was uniquely positioned to meet this need. Using their well-established networks and their willingness to use violence, Mafia families quickly dominated the bootlegging industry, smuggling alcohol across state lines, protecting illegal speakeasies, and eliminating competitors through intimidation or assassination. Figures like Al Capone in Chicago and Lucky Luciano in New York became infamous during this era, not only for their criminal activities, but also for their flamboyant lifestyles and the public's grudging admiration for their cunning and audacity. Prohibition also marked the beginning of the Mafia's transformation from a collection of local gangs into a more structured and hierarchical organization. This evolution was driven by leaders like Luciano, who recognized the need for a more coordinated approach to avoid the destructive gang wars that often arose over territory and resources. In 1931, Luciano established the Commission, a governing body that included the heads of the most powerful mafia families across the country. The Commission served as a kind of board of directors for organized crime, resolving disputes between families and overseeing large-scale operations. This structure allowed the Mafia to expand its reach beyond bootlegging, diversifying into other illegal activities such as gambling, loan sharking, and labor racketeering. The Mafia also began infiltrating legitimate businesses, using them both as fronts for money laundering and as tools for extending their influence into mainstream society. One of the Mafia's most notorious activities was its control over labor unions. By infiltrating unions, Mafia families were able to exert influence over entire industries, including construction, trucking, and shipping. This control allowed them to extract bribes from employers, embezzle union funds, and rig contracts in their favor. Labor racketeering not only enriched the Mafia, but also gave them significant political power, as politicians often relied on union support to win elections. This intersection of organized crime and politics was a hallmark of the Mafia's strategy for maintaining its power and evading law enforcement. Corruption was rampant, with Mafia families bribing police officers, judges, and even high-ranking government officials to protect their operations. Despite their power, the Mafia was not without internal strife. Rivalries between families, as well as power struggles within individual families, often led to bloody conflicts. These so-called mob wars were characterized by a brutal cycle of revenge killings that sometimes spilled into the public eye, drawing unwanted attention from law enforcement and the media. One of the most infamous episodes in Mafia history was the Castellamarese War of the late 1920s, a violent struggle for control of the New York underworld that ultimately led to the rise of Luciano and the establishment of the Commission. This pattern of violence and betrayal was a constant feature of Mafia life, despite the organization's emphasis on loyalty and the strict code of silence known as omertà. The omertà was a fundamental principle of Mafia culture, requiring members to remain silent about the organization's activities under any circumstances, even in the face of imprisonment or death. By the mid-20th century, the Mafia had reached the height of its power. Its influence extended into every corner of American life, from the glamorous world of Las Vegas casinos to the gritty docks of New York Harbor. Mafia families operated with near impunity, protected by their wealth, political connections, and the fear they inspired in their enemies and the public. However, this golden age of organized crime began to unravel in the 1970s and 1980s as law enforcement agencies developed more effective strategies for combating the Mafia. The introduction of the Racketeer-Influenced and Corrupt Organizations (RICO) Act in 1970 was a game-changer, allowing prosecutors to target entire criminal enterprises rather than individual members. This law enabled the federal government to dismantle Mafia families from the top down, leading to the conviction of numerous high-ranking bosses. Another significant blow to the Mafia came from within. Over time, the omertà began to erode, as some members chose to cooperate with law enforcement rather than face long prison sentences or the threat of retaliation. The Witness Protection Program, which offered defectors new identities and a chance to start over, was instrumental in persuading former mobsters to testify against their bosses. High-profile informants like Joseph Valachi and Sammy the Bull Gravano provided invaluable insights into the Mafia's operations, leading to the conviction of dozens of leaders and the collapse of many criminal enterprises. Despite these setbacks, the Mafia has proven to be remarkably resilient. While it no longer wields the same level of power it once did, the organization continues to operate in a diminished capacity, focusing on smaller-scale crimes and avoiding the high-profile activities that once made it a target for law enforcement. The Mafia's legacy, however, lives on, not only in the annals of American criminal history but also in popular culture. Films like The Godfather and television series like The Sopranos have immortalized the Mafia's mystique, portraying it as a complex world of honor, loyalty, and ruthless ambition. These portrayals, while often romanticized, underscore the enduring fascination with an organization that has shaped America in ways both profound and deeply troubling. The Mafia's story is one of adaptation and survival, of an organization that rose from the margins of society to become a formidable force in American life. It is a tale of ambition and greed, of violence and betrayal, but also of a unique cultural phenomenon that continues to captivate the imagination. The Mafia's influence may have waned, but its shadow lingers, a testament to its impact on the nation's history and its enduring allure as a symbol of power and intrigue.